The great hall of the Galactic Council was silent except for the soft hum of the translation devices. Ambassador Hyun-Soo Kim stood straight and tall at the defendant's podium, his hands behind his back. His face showed no emotion as the alien judges read out the charges against humanity. Speaker Vexithara, a tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms, held the final document. Her voice echoed through the massive chamber as she spoke the words that would change everything. The human species is found guilty of technology hoarding, territorial expansion beyond approved limits, and cultural contamination of developing species, she announced. The punishment is immediate removal from the Galactic Council and loss of all colonial rights in council space. Hyun-Soo did not move. He had expected this. The trial had been a show from the beginning. Everyone in the room knew it. The real decisions had been made in private meetings between the Zilani Empire and the Korath Federation. They wanted human colonies and human technology. This was just the legal way to take them. In the visitors' gallery, Dr. Yoon-Hae Park gripped the railing with white knuckles. She had spent 20 years developing the quantum terraforming machines that could turn dead rocks into green worlds. Now she watched as Speaker Vexithara declared all human technology to be galactic heritage property. All terraforming equipment, medical devices, and space construction tools created by humans will remain in council space. Vexithara continued. These belong to the galaxy, not to one species. Captain Dong-Wook Lee sat in the military section wearing his dress uniform. The medals on his chest represented 30 years of service protecting trade routes and fighting pirates. His ships had saved thousands of alien lives. Now those same aliens were voting to kick humanity out of their own colonies. The vote had been close but not close enough. 47 species voted for exile. 23 voted against. 16 abstained. The numbers meant nothing now. Hyun-Soo watched as the Zilani ambassador whispered something to the Korath representative. Both of them smiled. They had worked for 5 years to make this moment happen. Bribes, threats, false evidence, fake attacks, on their colonies blamed on human settlers. Every trick in the book. The human delegation has 30 standard days to remove all personnel from council space, Vexithara said. All military equipment must be surrendered. All scientific data must be transferred to council archives. Any violation of these terms will result in military action. Dr. Park closed her eyes. 30 days to abandon 300 years of work. 30 days to leave behind the greatest human achievements in space. The orbital cities, the research, stations, the beautiful worlds they had made green with their own hands. Engineer So-Jin Nam had helped build most of those cities. She sat in the engineering section watching aliens decide the fate of structures she had designed. The fusion reactors that powered half the galaxy used her improvements. The faster-than-light communication network that connected all council worlds was built on human mathematics. None of that mattered now. Commander Tae Hyun-Yoon commanded the defense of New Terra Station, humanity's greatest space city. 50 million people lived there. Schools, hospitals, parks, museums. All of it would be handed over to aliens who had never built anything so beautiful. The Zilani wanted New Terra because it controlled the main trade routes through the sector. The Korath wanted the human colonies because they sat on top of rare mineral deposits. Neither cared about the families who would lose their homes. Merchant Captain Jun-Ho Bae had trading contracts with 100 different worlds. His family. Company had been moving goods between species for 60 years. His reputation for fair dealing was known everywhere. Now all his contracts would be canceled. His ships would be banned from council ports. Governor Yu Jin-han represented the 17 human colony worlds, beautiful places with clean air and blue oceans. Her people had worked so hard to build good lives on those worlds. They had schools and farms and small cities. They had been happy. Speaker Vexithara banged her gavel 3 times. The sentence is final. The human delegation may make a closing statement if they wish. The chamber went quiet. Everyone expected Hyun-Soo to be angry. Maybe he would shout about injustice. Maybe he would threaten revenge. Maybe he would beg for mercy. The aliens leaned forward in their seats, waiting for the human response. Hyun-soo walked slowly to the center of the chamber. His footsteps echoed in the silence. He looked up at the judges, then at the gallery full of alien diplomats and reporters. 300 years ago, humanity reached for the stars, he said. His voice was calm and clear. We came seeking friends and knowledge. We offered our best discoveries freely. We shared our food, our music, our stories. We fought beside you, against pirates and invaders. We helped you cure diseases and build better worlds. The chamber was completely silent now. We asked for nothing except the chance to be part of something larger than ourselves. Hyun-soo continued. We believed that intelligent species could work together for everyone's good. We thought that trust and friendship mattered more than politics and greed. Some of the aliens in the gallery looked uncomfortable. A few looked ashamed. Today you have taught us something new, Hyun-soo said. You have shown us what our friendship was worth. You have demonstrated the value you place on our contributions. We understand now. He paused and looked directly at the Zilani and Korath ambassadors. We came to you as friends. We offered you our best. We trusted you with our hopes and dreams. In return, you have given us lies, theft, and exile. This is a valuable lesson. We will not forget it. Hyun-soo turned and walked back toward the human delegation. The other humans stood up in perfect order. Diplomats, scientists, military officers, governors, engineers, doctors, teachers. They moved like a single organism. We have 30 days to leave, Hyun-soo said quietly. We will be gone in 29. The human delegation filed out of the chamber in complete silence. No one spoke. No one protested. No one made angry gestures or shouted threats. They simply walked away with dignity and perfect discipline. Dr. Park was the last human to leave the gallery. She turned at the door and looked back at the aliens who were already arguing about how to divide up human property. She memorized their bases. Then she left. In the corridor outside, the human delegation gathered for the last time in council space. Hyun-soo activated his communication device and sent a single message to every human ship, station, and colony in the galaxy. Operation Silent Departure is now active, he said. Execute all protocols immediately. Leave nothing behind. Across the galaxy, humans began to move. The greatest exodus in galactic history was about to begin. But the aliens in the council chamber had no idea what they had really done. They had not just exiled humanity. They had declared war on the people who held their civilization together. Soon they would learn the difference. Admiral Mi Young-cho stood on the bridge of the battleship Harmony's End, watching the largest moving operation in galactic history unfold on her screens. Thousands of ships moved through space in perfect formation. Transport vessels, cargo haulers, military escorts, and civilian evacuation craft, all heading away from council space. Status report, she called out. Sector 7 evacuation is 70% complete, reported Commander Tae-hyun Yoon from New Terra Station. All essential personnel and equipment removed. Beginning final phase dismantling. Through the viewports, Mi Young could see the great station that had been humanity's pride. Massive metal arms were pulling apart the outer rings. Construction? Mechs that had built the station were now taking it apart, piece by piece. Every bolt, every wire, every computer core was being loaded onto transport ships. The aliens watching from nearby ships seemed confused. They had expected humans to leave quickly, but they had not expected them to take everything with them. The Boer. Council's legal experts had been very clear. Human personnel had to leave. But the law said nothing about the structures themselves. They cannot take the stations apart, protested Zilani Admiral Thexmiran over the communication channel. Those are permanent installations. According to our legal review, all structures built by humans using human materials and human labor belong to humanity, replied Commander Yoon calmly. We are simply recovering our property. In another part of the galaxy, engineer So-jin Nam was overseeing the data purge operations. Her fingers moved rapidly over holographic keyboards as she deleted 3 centuries of human knowledge from galactic networks. Medical database wipe is complete, reported her assistant. Fusion reactor specifications deleted. Terraforming algorithms removed. Faster than light communication protocols scrubbed. The aliens had assumed they could simply take over human technology. They did not understand that human machines were protected by security systems that only humans could operate. Every important database was encrypted with keys that only human scientists knew. Every critical system had lockouts that required human genetic signatures to bypass. Sojin had helped design most of these security measures. She knew every backdoor, every hidden protocol, every secret pathway through the networks, and she was using all of that knowledge to make sure the aliens got nothing. "What about the backup systems?" asked her assistant. "Already handled," Sojin replied. "Every backup has been wiped, every copy has been deleted, every cache has been cleared. When we are done, they will not even remember how to turn on their own lights." Meanwhile, Merchant Captain Junho Bei was recalling his trading fleets from across known space. His family's company had ships in 300 different systems. They carried goods, passengers, mail, and medical supplies between dozens of worlds. "This is Fortune's Dream reporting in," came a voice over the radio. "Cargo hold is full of refugees from Altair 7. Where should we take them?" "Set course for the rendezvous point beyond the Galactic Rim," Junho replied. "We have temporary housing set up there." The refugees were aliens who had worked for human companies or lived in human colonies. Many had alien spouses married to humans. Some were children of mixed marriages. They were being forced to choose between their homes and their families. Most chose family. Junho's ships were also carrying something else: information. For 60 years, human traders had been the galaxy's messenger service. They carried news, gossip, technical specifications, and trade secrets from world to world. They knew which species were having problems, which governments were unstable, which colonies needed help. All of that information was leaving with them. On the colony world New Kyoto, Governor Eugene Han was broadcasting the final transmission from human space. The beautiful planet with its purple seas and golden forests would soon belong to the Korath Federation. They wanted it for the rare metals buried in its mountains. "To our alien neighbors who stood beside us in friendship," she said into the camera, "we thank you for your kindness. We will remember the good times we shared. We hope your futures are bright and peaceful." She paused and looked directly into the lens. "To those who orchestrated our exile through lies and greed, we have a different message. You wanted our worlds and our technology. You have our worlds now. We hope they serve you well, but you will never have our knowledge, our skills, or our friendship. Those leave with us." Behind her, the last human transport ships were lifting off from New Kyoto's spaceports. The colonists took only what they could carry: their homes, their businesses, their carefully tended gardens, all left behind for the aliens to claim. But they took something more valuable than property. They took their experience, the knowledge of how to make the terraforming machines work properly, the skills needed to maintain the fusion reactors, the understanding of how to grow crops in alien soil. The Korath would get beautiful worlds, but they would not know how to keep them beautiful. Dr. Yun-Hai Park was aboard one of the last ships to leave Council space. As head of the Human Scientific Consortium, she carried the most important cargo of all: the master databases containing 3 centuries of human research. The aliens thought they could steal human science by seizing human computers. They did not understand that the most important knowledge was not written down anywhere. It was in the minds of human scientists who had spent their lives understanding how the universe worked. "Doctor, we are receiving urgent communications from 17 different species," her assistant reported. "They are offering huge payments for copies of the terraforming protocols." "Standard response," Dr. Park replied. "All human scientific data is proprietary and will not be shared with Council, members, or affiliates." The aliens were starting to panic. They had assumed human technology would keep working without humans around to maintain it. Now they were discovering that human machines needed constant care from people who understood how they worked. The terraforming processors on 30 different worlds had started showing error messages. The fusion reactors that powered major cities were running diagnostic cycles that no alien engineer could interpret. The communication networks that connected the galaxy were experiencing mysterious delays and failures. Admiral Myung Cho received the final reports from all sectors. Every human ship, station, colony, and outpost in Council space had been evacuated. Not a single human citizen remained behind. Not a single piece of human technology was left functional. All units report ready for final phase, she announced, over the fleet communication system. Execute Silent Departure Protocol Omega. Across the galaxy, the last human installations activated their self-destruct sequences. Not explosions. That would be wasteful and dangerous. Instead, the machines simply turned themselves off and locked their control systems behind encryption that would take alien computers centuries to break. Every human-built structure, every human-designed machine, every human-created system went dark at the same moment. The aliens watching from their observation post suddenly found themselves in darkness as the human-maintained power grids shut down. Communication networks went silent as human-operated relay stations stopped functioning. Even the artificial gravity in many stations failed as human-built generators went into safe mode. It was like watching the lights go out across civilization. "My God," whispered Ambassador Kethmaran of the Peaceful Traders Alliance, one of the few species that had voted against human exile. "What have we done?" But the humans were already gone, disappearing into the darkness between stars. 60 billion people vanishing into the cosmic night, taking with them the knowledge and skills that had held galactic civilization together. Behind them, they left only empty buildings and broken dreams. The great exodus was complete. Now the galaxy would learn what it had truly lost. 6 months after the humans disappeared, the first major crisis hit the galaxy like a hammer blow. On the world of Zelani Prime, the atmospheric processors that kept the air breathable started failing one by one. Zelani Overlord Thexmiran stood in his government building, watching through the windows as the sky slowly turned the wrong color. The machines that had cleaned the planet's air for 50 years were shutting down. Without them, the world would become a poisonous wasteland in less than a year. "Have our engineers figured out how to fix them?" he demanded. His chief scientist, a nervous creature with too many eyes, wrung his hands. "My lord, we cannot even understand how they work. The human machines use principles our science does not recognize. We have taken them apart completely, but we cannot determine how they function." Thexmaran slammed his fist on his desk. The humans left instruction manuals, technical documentation, maintenance schedules. "All encrypted, my lord, the codes. Require human genetic markers to unlock. Without a human to authorize access, the files remain sealed." On 17 other worlds that the Zelani had claimed from humanity, the same thing was happening. The beautiful green worlds were slowly dying. The terraforming machines had not just been turned off, they had been completely removed, leaving behind only empty concrete foundations. The Zelani had gotten the real estate, but not the technology. That made it livable. In Korath space, Fleet Admiral Grixthon was discovering an even worse problem. His mighty war fleet, the terror of the outer systems, was falling apart. "Sir, we have lost another 3 battleships today," reported his aide. "The quantum torpedo systems have failed completely. The shield generators are operating at 12% efficiency. The faster-than-light engines are showing error codes our computers cannot interpret." Grixthon stared at the reports in disbelief. For decades, the Korath military had bought weapons and ship components from human manufacturers. The humans had a reputation for building things that worked perfectly and never broke down. The Korath had been happy to buy human technology instead of developing their own. Now they were learning the cost of that decision. "What about the maintenance contracts?" Grixthon asked. "Cancelled, sir. All human companies have withdrawn from Korath space. They will not answer our communications or honor previous agreements." The Korath had expected to capture human factories and force human workers to keep building weapons for them. But the humans had dismantled every factory, deleted every blueprint, and taken every skilled worker with them. The Korath were left with half-broken war machines they could not fix or replace. Trade Chancellor Brixdal of the Merchant Guild was dealing with an economic disaster that grew worse every day. The galactic economy was collapsing as trade routes that had operated smoothly for centuries suddenly fell apart. "The shipping costs have increased by 400%. she reported to an emergency council session. Without human cargo services, we must rely on smaller, less efficient alien companies. Many of them are already overbooked for the next 5 years. But the real problem was not shipping capacity, it was trust. Human merchants had been known throughout the galaxy for their honesty. When a human said goods would arrive on a certain date, they arrived on that date. When a human quoted a price, that was the real price with no hidden fees. When a human signed a contract, they honored it completely. Other species did business differently. Everyone cheated a little bit. Everyone charged extra fees. Everyone delivered late and blamed someone else. This had been normal before humans came to the stars, but 3 centuries of dealing with honest human traders had spoiled the rest of the galaxy. Now that humans were gone, everyone assumed everyone else was cheating. Trade agreements fell apart. Shipping contracts were broken. Whole economic sectors shut down because no one trusted anyone else anymore. Dr. Cleth Mara of the Viridian Collective was making an even more disturbing discovery in her research labs. She had been tasked with figuring out how much of galactic technology actually came from human innovations. The answer was terrifying. 62%, she reported to her government leaders. 62% of our current technology base derives from human research or improvements to human designs. Everything from our medical scanners to our food processing systems uses principles that humans discovered or perfected. The Viridians had always considered themselves the advanced scientific species. They had been exploring space for 2,000 years before humans even invented writing. But somehow, in just 3 centuries, humans had become the foundation of galactic science. How is this possible? Demanded the Viridian science minister. Humans shared their knowledge freely, Dr. Cleth Mara explained. Every time they made a breakthrough, they published the results for everyone to use. Every time they solved a problem, they offered to help other species solve the same problem. Over time, human innovations became woven into the fabric of our civilization. The minister looked through the reports with growing horror. Can we replicate their technology? Some of it, given enough time. But the advanced systems, terraforming, quantum computing, dimensional engineering, those require theoretical knowledge we do not possess. It would take us centuries to rediscover what humans knew. Across the galaxy, desperate aliens were trying to contact human space. Every government, every corporation, every scientific institution was sending messages to the coordinates where humans used to live. They offered money, trade deals, technology exchanges, anything to get humans to respond. The answer was always the same: nothing. Complete silence. Human space had become a void. Their former colonies were empty. Their space stations were gone. Their trade routes were abandoned. It was as if 60 billion humans had simply vanished from existence. Captain Yelthar of the exploration ship Harmony's Edge was leading a desperate search mission at the edge of the galaxy. His ship was equipped with the most advanced sensors the Peaceful Traders Alliance could build. They were searching for any trace of where the humans had gone. "Captain, I am detecting massive construction activity in the next system," reported his science officer. "Set course immediately," Yelthar ordered. What they found when they dropped out of faster-than-light travel made them all stare in shock. The system was full of construction sites unlike anything in known space. Massive ships that were half-built but already larger than entire space stations. Industrial facilities that seemed to bend space around themselves, and working on all of it were humans. Millions of them building something that hurt to look at directly. "Captain, we are being scanned," the communications officer reported. "The scanning method is... I do not recognize it. It appears to be examining us down to the molecular level." Then a voice came over the radio. A human voice, speaking in perfect, galactic standard language. "Unknown vessel, you are in violation of human sovereignty space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Captain Yelthar recognized the voice. It belonged to Admiral Mi-Young Cho, the human officer who had coordinated the exodus. But her ship, if that mountain of metal and energy could be called a ship, was beyond anything in the galactic fleet. "Admiral Cho, this is Captain Yelthar of the Peaceful Traders Alliance. We come seeking dialogue with the human government." "There is no dialogue," came the cold reply. There is no negotiation. There is no relationship between humanity and the species that betrayed us. You have 10 seconds to begin your withdrawal. Yelthar's sensors showed dozens of other human ships moving to surround his vessel. Each one was larger than a battleship and armed with weapons that his computers could not identify. Admiral, please. The galaxy is in chaos. People are dying. We need your help. You made your choice, Admiral Cho replied. Now live with the consequences. 9 seconds. Captain Yelthar ordered his ship to retreat. As they jumped back into faster-than-light travel, he caught a glimpse of something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. In the distance, barely visible, was a structure so vast it could only be described as artificial world. And around, it moved ships that seemed to phase in and out of normal space using technology that was centuries beyond anything the galaxy possessed. The humans had not just survived their exile. They had evolved. They had become something entirely new, something powerful beyond imagination, and they wanted nothing to do with the species that had cast them out. 2 years after humans disappeared from Council space, galactic civilization was dying. What had started as economic problems had become a complete collapse of law and order across the galaxy. Fleet Admiral Grixthon stood in what remained of the Korath Military Command Center, reading reports that got worse every day. His once mighty fleet was now reduced to a handful of working ships. Without human-made components, most of his vessels could not even leave orbit. Sir, piracy has increased by 800% in the outer systems, his aide reported. Without human patrol fleets, the trade routes are completely undefended. 17 cargo convoys were attacked just this week. The human military had been the galaxy's police force, though nobody had realized it at the time. Human ships had patrolled the dangerous sectors, hunting pirates and protecting merchant vessels. They had done this quietly, without asking for recognition or payment. They had simply seen a problem and fixed it. Now the pirates were back in force. Worse, many of them were using abandoned alien military ships that their original crews could no longer maintain. Criminal organizations were becoming more powerful than legitimate governments. On the medical world of Keldon Prime, Dr. Vashitari was watching thousands of patients die from a disease that should have been easily curable. The plague had started in the crowded refugee camps where aliens from failed colonies had gathered. Without proper sanitation systems, it spread like wildfire. We need nanomedicine therapy, she told her staff for the 100th time. The human medical protocols would stop this plague in days, but nanomedicine was human technology. The tiny robots that could repair damaged cells and kill diseases were beyond alien science. Dr. Vashitari had the old medical texts that described how the treatment worked, but she could not build the machines to deliver it. Every day, more patients died, while she watched helplessly. Children mostly. The plague killed the young first. Doctor, we have received another communication from the human medical companies, her assistant reported. They are willing to sell us nano-medicine supplies. At what cost? 5 million credits, per dose. Cash payment in advance, no payment plans or credit terms accepted. Dr. Vashitari closed her eyes. Before the exile, human medicine had been almost free. Human doctors had traveled the galaxy providing care to anyone who needed it. They had asked only for the cost of materials and transportation. Now humanity treated medical care like any other business transaction. The prices were fair by galactic standards, but they showed no mercy for those who could not pay. In the Great Council chambers, Speaker Vexithera was finally admitting what everyone knew. The trial that had exiled humanity had been a fraud from beginning to end. The charges against the human species were fabricated, she announced to the emergency session. Evidence was falsified. Witnesses were bribed. Council members were corrupted, with illegal payments. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some demanded justice against the Zilani and Korath species who had orchestrated the fraud. Others called for immediate attempts to contact humanity and beg forgiveness. But it was too late for justice. The Zilani Empire was collapsing as their worlds became uninhabitable without human terraforming technology. The Korath Federation was breaking apart as their military could no longer maintain order. Both species were refugees in their own territories. We must send ambassadors to human space, declared Ambassador Kethamiran of the Peaceful Traders Alliance. We must apologize and ask them to return. They will not speak to us, replied another delegate. Every attempt at communication has been ignored. Human space has gone completely dark. What they did not know was that human communications were still working perfectly. Every message sent to human space was received, translated, and filed in vast computer systems. Humans knew exactly what was happening in council space. They simply chose not to respond. Engineer So Jin Nam, now serving as communications director for the Human Sovereignty Council, reviewed the daily message logs from her office beyond the galactic rim. 17,000 new messages today, she reported to her staff. Medical pleas, trade requests, offers of political alliance, and quite a few death threats from species blaming us for their problems. Should we respond to any of them? Asked her assistant. Standard policy, Sojin replied. File everything. Respond to nothing. Let them know we are listening, but not participating. The humans were indeed listening. They had monitoring stations throughout the galaxy, hidden in asteroids and abandoned space structures. They knew about every war, every plague, every economic crisis. They watched their former friends and enemies struggle with problems that human technology could solve in days, but they did nothing to help. This was the most painful part for humans who remembered the old days. People like Dr. Yunhai Park, who had spent her life helping other species, found it hard to watch the galaxy suffer. But they had learned a bitter lesson about trust and friendship. The Viridian Collective is offering us complete access to their scientific databases in exchange for terraforming assistance, Dr. Park reported to the Human Science Council. Denied, replied the council chairman. Standard response: all technology is available for purchase at market rates. No gifts, no favors, no special deals for former allies. The galaxy was learning that humanity had been more than just another species. They had been the civilization's teachers, healers, protectors, and innovators. Without humans, the other species were like children trying to operate machines they did not understand. Captain Yelthar returned from his third expedition to the edge of human space, carrying news that terrified the council even more than the collapsing economy. They are building something beyond our understanding, he reported. Ships that move through dimensions we cannot detect. Worlds that exist in folded space-time. Energy sources that make our fusion reactors look like candles. What are they planning? Asked Speaker Vexithara. I believe they are preparing to leave, Yelthar replied. Not just council space, the entire galaxy. They are building the infrastructure for a completely independent civilization. The full horror of this struck everyone in the chamber at the same time. Humanity was not just angry. They were done with the galaxy entirely. They were preparing to take their knowledge, their skills, and their innovations somewhere else, entirely. If they leave, we are finished, whispered Ambassador Kethamiran. Everything we have built, everything we are, depends on human science. Without them, we will fall back to the Stone Age. But even this realization came too late. The damage had been done 3 years ago in this very chamber, when short-sighted politicians had chosen to exile the people who held their world together. On the edge of human space, Admiral Mi-young Cho received regular reports about conditions in Council territory. Each report showed the same pattern: increasing chaos, failing systems, desperate pleas for help that went unanswered. She felt no satisfaction from this. The collapse of galactic civilization gave her no joy. But it proved an important point about trust and consequences. Admiral, we are detecting another diplomatic mission approaching our border, reported her aide. Standard response, Mi-young replied. Warning message, then escort them out if they refuse to leave. This one is different, Admiral. It is flying under the flag of the Peaceful Traders Alliance, the same species that voted against our exile. Mi-young considered this. The Peaceful Traders Alliance had been humanity's closest allies. They had stood with humans even when it cost them politically. Some of her officers believed they deserved better treatment. Did they vote against our exile? She asked. Yes, Admiral. They were one of only 23 species to oppose the Council's decision, and yet they did nothing to help us when we were betrayed. They made speeches and cast votes, but they did not act. When we needed allies, They chose political safety over friendship. Mi Young turned back to her tactical display showing the vast construction projects humanity was building in their new space. Ships and stations beyond alien imagination, powered by technology that humanity had developed in isolation. Standard response, she repeated. Humanity is done with galactic politics. We tried friendship once. We will not make that mistake again. Bohr, Galaxy had taught humanity a valuable lesson about trust. Now humanity was teaching the galaxy a valuable lesson about consequences. 5 years after the Great Exodus, humanity returned to Council space, but they came back as something the galaxy had never seen before, not as friends, not as enemies, but as strangers who happened to share the same stars. President Haiwan Kang appeared on holographic screens throughout Council space, broadcasting from somewhere beyond the galactic rim. Her image was sharp and clear, but the background behind her showed technology that hurt alien eyes to look at directly. People of the galaxy, she began, her voice calm and professional. 5 years ago, you voted to exile humanity from your civilization. You taught us that friendship was a luxury we could not afford. You showed us that trust was a weakness to be exploited. You demonstrated that our contributions meant nothing when weighed against your political convenience. In the council chambers, Speaker Vex Thara and the remaining delegates listened in silence. Half of the original council members were no longer present. Some species had collapsed entirely. Others had withdrawn from galactic politics as their own worlds fell into chaos. We learned your lessons well, President Kang continued. We have spent these 5 years building a new civilization, one that does not depend on the goodwill of others, one that cannot be betrayed by false friends, one that owes nothing to anyone. The transmission showed brief images of human achievements in exile, worlds that seemed to exist in impossible places, ships that moved through space in ways that violated known physics, cities that floated between dimensions, untouchable and unreachable. However, we are not cruel, Kang said. We do not wish to see suffering where it can be prevented. Therefore, humanity is prepared to offer certain services to the galactic community, not as friends, not as allies, but as business partners. Director Jin Wook Park appeared next, wearing the uniform of the Human Commerce Authority. Behind him was a simple office that could have been anywhere. No advanced technology was visible, no signs of the incredible achievements humanity had made in exile. Effective immediately, humanity is offering the following services for purchase, he announced. Medical supplies and treatment for epidemic diseases, terraforming services for damaged worlds, security escorts for trade routes, all at standard market prices, all with full payment in advance. The terms he listed were harsh but fair. Human medicine would be available, but at costs that only wealthy governments could afford. Human terraforming teams would restore damaged worlds, but they would work only on short-term contracts with no ongoing support. Human military escorts would protect cargo ships from pirates, but they would not get involved in wars or political disputes. They would do their job, collect their payment, and leave. All transactions will be conducted through automated systems, Director Park continued. No face-to-face meetings, no long-term contracts, no credit terms or payment plans. Humanity is not interested in relationships, only in business. Former Ambassador Hyun-Soo Kim appeared last, now wearing the uniform of the Human Sovereignty Defense Corps. The man who had once pleaded for friendship between species was now something colder and harder. Let me be absolutely clear about our new relationship, he said. Humanity owes you nothing. We will not come to your aid in times of crisis unless you pay us to do so. We will not share our knowledge freely. We will not sacrifice our interests for your benefit. We tried friendship once. We offered you our best and received betrayal in return. We offered you trust and received lies. We offered you partnership and were told we were unwanted. Now you may purchase our services like any other commodity. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy with a simple choice. They could buy human help at market prices, or they could continue struggling with problems they could not solve alone. The response was immediate and desperate. Every government in council space began sending purchase orders for human services. The Zilani Empire, what was left of it, emptied their treasury to buy terraforming services for their dying worlds. The medical consortium borrowed huge amounts of money to purchase human nanomedicine for the ongoing plague. The Merchant Guild hired human escort fleets to protect their cargo ships, paying prices that would have been unthinkable before the exile. But without human protection, their ships were being destroyed by pirates faster than they could be built. All of these transactions were handled by computer systems. No human faces appeared on communication screens. No human voices negotiated. Terms or offered friendship. Everything was cold, efficient, and completely impersonal. Captain Junho Bei, now serving as a human commerce fleet commander, led a convoy of medical supplies to the plague-stricken worlds of the Keldon system. His ships arrived exactly on schedule, delivered their cargo to the designated coordinates, and left without communicating with the local authorities. "Captain, the Keldon government is requesting a meeting," his communications officer reported. "They wish to thank us personally and discuss future medical cooperation." "Standard response," Junho replied. "Contract fulfilled. No further services requested at this time. Departing system." The humans had become perfectly reliable business partners and completely unreachable people. They did exactly what they were paid to do. Nothing more and nothing less. There were no favors for old friends, no mercy for desperate situations, no consideration for political or emotional appeals. Dr. Yoon-Hai Park, now Director of Human Terraforming Services, managed the restoration of 17 worlds that had been damaged by failed alien attempts to maintain human technology. Her teams worked with incredible efficiency, turning dead rocks back into green worlds in a matter of months. But when the work was finished, they left immediately. No celebrations, no handover ceremonies, no training for local technicians who might maintain the systems. The aliens got beautiful worlds that would stay beautiful for exactly as long as they continued paying for maintenance contracts. "Doctor, the Zilani are requesting an extended contract for technical training," reported her assistant. "They are offering to double our standard fees." "Denied," Dr. Park replied. "Terraforming services only. No technology transfers. No training programs. No long-term commitments." Some of the younger humans found this cold approach difficult. They had been raised on stories of the old days, when humanity and aliens had worked together as friends. They wanted to help species that were clearly suffering. Commander Tae-hyun Yoon, now serving as a security escort leader, had to explain the new reality to his crew after they witnessed a pirate attack on an unprotected alien convoy. "Sir, shouldn't we help them?" asked one of his junior officers. "Our contract only covers the cargo ships we are escorting, but we could easily drive off those pirates." "Our contract specifies exactly which ships we are protecting," Tae-hyun replied. "We do nothing beyond our contracted obligations. Those other ships should have purchased escort services if they wanted protection. But people are dying, sir. People died when the galaxy decided they did not want humanity around," Tae-hyun said firmly. "We offered our protection freely for 3 centuries. We were told it was not wanted. Now they can purchase it like any other service." The galaxy was learning to live with the consequences of their choices. Some species adapted better than others. The Peaceful Traders Alliance, which had opposed human exile, received no special treatment, but managed to purchase enough human services to maintain stability. The Zilani and Korath species, architects of humanity's exile, found themselves paying the highest prices for services they had once received for free. Their government survived, but barely, and only by spending enormous amounts of money on human assistance. Other species simply collapsed. Without human support, they could not maintain the technology that their civilizations depended on. They fell back to pre-spaceflight levels of development, becoming primitive worlds on the edge of galactic civilization. Ambassador Kethmiran of the Peaceful Traders Alliance was one of the few aliens who understood what had really happened. "We did not just exile humanity," he said during an emergency council session. "We exiled our conscience, our teachers, our better angels, the people who reminded us to be better than our worst impulses. Now we have a galaxy where everything has a price and nothing has value, where help comes only to those who can afford it, where the strong prey on the weak without anyone stepping in to stop them. This is not the civilization we wanted to build. But it is the one we chose when we decided that political advantage was more important than friendship. Speaker Vexithara listened to these words while reviewing reports of human commercial activities. Humans were making enormous profits from their services. They had gone from exiled refugees to the wealthiest civilization in the galaxy in just 5 years, but they remained completely isolated. No human had set foot in council space. No human had attended a diplomatic function. No human had offered an opinion on galactic politics or joined any international organization. They had become the galaxy's most essential service providers and its most distant strangers. In the end, the council had gotten exactly what they voted for. A galaxy without human friendship, without human generosity, without human idealism. A galaxy where everything was a transaction and nothing was a gift. They had won their petty political victory 5 years ago. Now they would pay the price for it for the rest of time.